Hey everybody, it's Mr.S and I'm back again to talk about a subject that I think is very important in the school environment because we live in a society that's full of so many different cultures. So what I mean is that we need to help children learn how to work with others, regardless of how much you might hate someone's sexual orientation or their gender or their nationality or their religion or whatever you have a prejudice against. It is important that we teach children how to accept other people. We might believe something, but as history has shown, over and over again, many times just because we want to feel something doesn't mean it's the right thing. I mean, if we really want to get down to the nitty-gritty parts of it, slavery was accepted by the entire nation for a very long time, and so was discrimination and prejudice. So what what might seem okay and normal to us really might not be okay and normal later on. And we need to show people how to care about people and tolerate them. I didn't say you had to accept them. I didn't say you had to accept the things that they do. But it's very important to tolerate them. Unless this individual is directly affecting you, like directly doing something to you, then yes, why not? Get angry, get mad, push back, do what you need to do. However, if somebody is doing something and it's not directly affecting you and it's not directly concerning you, we need to start showing appreciation towards differences because being different sometimes is okay because I'm different. Look at me. I'm a preschool teacher. I'm a male. I have tattoos. I used to have a mohawk. I used to have piercings. But look where I'm at and look what I'm doing. So sometimes we have to move away from the idea that different is bad and kind of challenge it and see, well, what can I learn from this different? What is there to learn from this? A good example of learning from differences is the whole world. We are a living creation of accepting differences. The United States is created upon the fact that we accept each other's differences. Sometimes the person you might hate the most might be the person that saves your life one day. You never know when you're going to need someone to do the Heimlich on you, and that person that you dislike the most might be the one person that saves your life. I saw a really cool video of a lady running away from a guy on a skateboard, and the whole time he's like, "Ma'am, you dropped your purse. Like, I'm trying to give it to you." And it's just about breaking the stereotype that just because someone looks a certain way doesn't mean that that person's a bad person. And a good example that I had, another one that I was reading about, was a guy who was a biker, and somebody told him, "Don't say hi to that biker guy. He's a bad guy." And this guy is a father. He actually volunteers on the weekends and gives back to the community. Oftentimes, he actually goes to the children's hospital and actually volunteers his time there. And there's just a bunch of things. Even another one was a professor in California, or he might be, well, he was a high school professor. But anyways, nobody thought he was the nice guy. Everyone hates talking to him. I believe he's a math teacher, and everyone just hates him and scared of him. And every weekend for the past years, he's always gone to a children's hospital and carried infants, preemie babies, infant babies, and carried them and gave them love. And it shocked people because they thought he was this way, but he wasn't at all. He wasn't that way at all. He outside of the environment that he needs to be stern in, he is a nice guy. Just like me. Just because I'm silly at work doesn't mean I'm going to be silly everywhere I go. If I'm out in town, if I'm out meeting some people, hanging out with my friends, just because I act silly at work doesn't mean I'm going to do that everywhere. And we have to start understanding that people aren't the way they are just because of the way they look or the way they talk. Like, most people don't assume that I'm of Latin descent. However, I used to live in Mexico. I used to play in Mexico I used to sleep in Mexico because that's where I live. That's what happened. I live, and people are like, oh, well, you're not really like that. Yes, I was, but you wouldn't know this unless you gave me the chance to talk and gave me the opportunity to get to know each other. If you just said, oh, he's this way, then of course I'm always gonna be just this way to you because you've now closed that wall. You've now closed that door, so there's no communication going on. So I believe that in the preschool setting, we need to start accepting differences. We need to start pushing the belief that we all are bad because we're different and we all can't accept each other, because that's not how it is. Children don't do that. Children don't begin really to build prejudice till much later on. Yes, they do understand that there's differences, but they're not gonna say, unless they've been told by somebody to do this, that just because of the skin color they're not gonna be friends. Oftentimes we have to, in the DRDP, which is the desired results rating scale that we do, the portfolio. It even asks us to find, one of the measurements is finding differences among people. And it's very hard because children are like, what? What's different about us? They don't understand that there's a difference half the time. You have to explain it to them like, what's different about you guys? He's wearing a blue shirt. They will always see the most minute things, not things that we see like, clearly, this child is this ethnicity and this one's of a totally other ethnicity, and they don't see that. They don't see that, like, they look different or maybe they belong. And so they don't see these things. They see like, well, he's wearing a red shirt, I'm wearing a blue shirt, because they don't care about those things. We teach them to care about those things. We later on show them that there are prejudice and there are groups of people that do things that we shouldn't accept them of. And it's sad because we are pretty much taking away these opportunity of these children because of what we see as adults, because we are putting our perverted adult minds and putting them in the children's. Instead of giving them a chance to kind of form their own ideas, we're putting our own ideas in their head of things that are based off of things that we experience because we think it's right, and just because we believe that we have to put it in our brain. Now, there are some things, of course, yes, like fire is not good to touch. Why? Because we know it's hot and it burns you, and that's that's something negative. But how do you know a conversation with somebody might not help this child learn something about themselves? Learn something about acceptance, about love. Everybody needs to be loved at some point, right? So, but if I can't learn to love somebody, how can I love my children? What if one day, like, you don't know, what if one day you have two children and one of the children decides to marry interracial, and now your other child, the sibling, can't accept the other sibling because of that? How would you think that's going to work out? Or would it be better to, you know what, I know you don't agree with it, but can you tolerate the other sibling? Can you go to their wedding and can you appreciate them? Because that doesn't come from us naturally. We make that up. We come up with that later. We don't see the differences. We're kind of told. We don't really know. We see a globe, but we don't know. It doesn't say, look, this is China. This is where Asian people come from. It's just like, it's a globe. You look at it and it's just land. It all looks the same. It just has different shapes to it, but nowhere does it say where certain cultures come from. It doesn't specify. So when a child's looking at it, they're not saying, oh, well, you're from here, aren't you? Because you look this way. They don't see that way. They don't see ethnicity as a difference. They see what we do. They see like objects that we, like personality. They see that as a difference. They don't even notice the ethnicity part yet. And they love being friends with everybody. Everybody enjoys being friends with everybody. There's no prejudice in that sense. And I think the last thing I want to wrap up with before I end this video is that we need to remember that we got to give children chances to explore their own and to come up with their own ideas. Because if not, one day they might get angry at us. Like, if, I feel that one of my parents has been racist, and when I get older and I have a friend and I don't see anything wrong, am I going to start to question what my parents say? Yeah, I will. I will start questioning what they say. Am I going to start questioning their beliefs and maybe start questioning a lot of things that they did? Of course. Now, we don't want our children to distrust us, right? So why give them our prejudice that maybe is our own personal experience and let them enjoy the world and see what they can find and discover, because you never know, it might be different from yours, but different is okay. As we've seen, different is acceptable. And for all my parents who are bilingual, please speak your native language at home. Please speak it. Let me teach English. Let the teacher at school teach English. Don't worry about the English. Teach them the language that I can't teach them. And that's it. I want you to teach them the language that I can't teach them, because I don't want them to lose it. So there's you go. That's what I mean. That's what I feel about cultural diversity. Let's start accepting culture. Let's start accepting differences and stop trying to push them away. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a great day.